This alien Reddit stories where I tell alien stories off of Reddit. My YouTuber buddy Johnny Blix insisted that I come up with an intro, so here it goes. Alien Reddit stories. Story number 2. I was in an elementary school in the mid-90s, and an ice storm had blown through, putting our power out. We lived far in the country. I think we far out in the country, about 10 miles outside of a town of 9,000. Indeed. It was cold, and my parents let us kids camp in the living room next to the fire. I woke up in the middle of the night and stepped outside to take a pee. Our house was a nice west-facing patio that my brothers and I preferred to use due to the satisfaction of peeing off of high places, maybe 6 feet up. As I stood there looking at the stars, I noticed a small light in the middle sky, far away but jumping randomly around about a 3-inch diameter in the sky. It would jump around, stopping momentarily, and shoot to another spot. I just stood there and watched it for about a full minute while I finished business, and I thought I could go back inside and get one of my brothers. Unfortunately, it just faded after a while, and all I have is this story. And you have us listen to the story, so don't be depressed. Story number 3. I was out drinking one night. I had walked with friends to the bar about 2 blocks away from my house, got pretty saucy, and decided to go back. I took off all my clothes and went to bed. During the night, I have this dream where I wake up because my house feels like it's being turned on its side. The cold window against my face actually woke me up. Somehow the window opens and I'm being pulled out of my back from under my arms. I keep telling someone my legs are stuck, almost frantically, because it was between my bed and the window sill. Eventually the leg is freed and I go out. Now there's the weird part. I wake up to a very loud traffic, birds, etc. I had just had this weird dream I remember, and I'm starting to stir. When I realize the window is wide open, I start to move to see what's going on and realize there's dirt all in my bed. I look out the window, which is about 67 feet off the ground, and everything that was on the floor sealed is on the ground. I can't do a pull-up, so I know I didn't climb back in. As I'm moving, I realize my left leg hurts at the bend, and there's a massive black and blue bruise where it had been caught between the bed and the window. The house was locked, and I was naked, no keys. So I didn't just wake up. I didn't walk back in. My roommates didn't have any idea. As it all said in, I jokingly told everyone, I finally had an abduction story, until to this day. Happened around 2006 or 7 in Auburn, Alabama, downtown. Occasionally, I also have a faint memory of being taken up this very large oak that was right beside my bedroom from the dream. Terrifying. Story number 4. When I was 10 years old, I was bouncing off on my trampoline on a warm night in Arizona. It was just after the sun went down, so the skies were still very visible. I hear what sounds like a plane, single-engine plane that is about to crash, just like in the movies behind me. The sound was that of an engine going from high RPMs to low RPMs. I turned to see a brownish tan object coming in from the south at a high rate of speed, about to crash into my neighbor's house. It was probably about 100 yards away from me when the RPMs began to pick up again. It never stopped, but was moving very slowly as it pulled out of its dive. It accelerated quite fast in upward and northward direction. I had perfect vision and watched it disappear out of sight in less than 5 seconds. It took off in the exact direction of the Yuma Proving Grounds, if that means anything. Describing it would be quite hard. Bear with me. The side view, imagine a right triangle with a 45-degree right-sided rounded, and it was about 15 feet tall, 10 feet across from the front. It was probably 10 feet across. The edges on the left and the right side were indented along its vertical length. It also had a black line running down from the middle. The back and bottom of the ship were completely flat. However, on the bottom it had 4 super thin spider legs protruding from the 4 corners. I'm assuming this is landing gear. The back and bottom were so perfectly flat that I think it was just a little drone that would fit perfectly into a large ship. I know what I saw, and I can guarantee you that it came from another planet. People say that if aliens came, it would be the equivalent of Columbus and the Indians. That is a human mentality, because I know for a fact other civilizations know about us. Besides, the universe is big, and I doubt our Earth is special. Indeed, comment or writer. That's previous story. I'm pretty sure I already read it. I realized it about 2/3 into the story. So if it was new to you, great. If not, I apologize. But in compensation for that, I'm going to read a very long. Looks good from what I can tell, but I don't know. I haven't read it. So let's go for it. Final story. Created a throwaway for this. I've spent 5 years of my life in New Delhi. Vasnath Kunj, Sector C, Pocket 2. Wow, this smooth sounds like Section 9. Remember that movie? This is a weird way to describe someplace. Well, I digress. When I was around 15, I saw something which I cannot explain completely. This is not terribly exciting, but interesting nonetheless. By the way, I have not suffered from sleep paralysis, hallucinations, or mental breakdowns ever, except when I had weed very recently, which was a shit experience. Pardon my language. Thank you for that disclaimer. Delhi has a lot of power cuts, especially during summer at night. It was around 7 to 8 p.m. when we had one. I could look a bit away and saw that it was only our sector which had a power cut. When I looked up, I saw a translucent disc against the clouds, which would easily go unnoticed if you were not looking for it. It was a slow, horizontally moving flat disc which was coming towards my direction. It did not seem to be too far away from me. I was sure that this was a helicopter blade, since it would have been audible to its apparent distance and it would have a helicopter attached to it, which I think is a requirement for airborne helicopters blades these days. Take an American quarter and hold it about an inch away from your eyeballs. That was the size of the object that I saw. If you have a horizontal circle above your eyes in front of you, it would appear like an ellipse. If you move it towards you, its eccentricity would decrease, making it flatter, and the size would appear to become larger. So I'm pretty sure of the trajectory of this object. With me. Summer nights are hot, devoid of any wind, and not very humid. I used to go to sleep late at 11 to 12 p.m., so I'm sure I was not sleepy when I saw it. The reason this is important is because the possibility I thought of I was a smoke ring which could have originated from a burnt transformer which led to the power cut. Again, I ruled this out because the object was moving horizontally, and I don't think smoke rings that on a windless night in a landlocked, windless city. Okay, that was a mouthful. A smoke ring also could not have been a possibility because otherwise, in the case of a burnt transformer, the power cut would have lasted 3 to 4 hours, and people would have come out of their homes, and everybody in the locality would have been pissed off. This did not happen. I was watching this thing for around 30 to 40 minutes before it lazily drifted above me and then away from me, behind my building and out of my sight. I was a bit bored at this point. Yeah, us too, bro. What is this story going? Sorry, I told my mom about this, and she said she did an India thing. Don't ask. Around 15 minutes later, the power came back on. I'm sure this whole incident took about an hour or less. So yeah, this is what I saw. When I told my friend, he insisted that I saw helicopter blades. Yeah, F you, Arjun. This is what is interesting is that he saw some glowing lights some 6 months later, and he was sure that it was a UFO. He lived in New Rajinder Nagar. If that is important, I don't know where that is. I told him that they must have been helicopters. That a-hole did not remember the conversation we had 6 months before to know what I was talking about. He was not a good person. This guy likes to swear a lot. I'm not gonna say that word. He was not a really good person. I'll say that. Glad I'm not in contact with him anymore. We try to keep it PG here on the Alien Red Story. All right, so that is the end of our stories today. And in thanks for you guys, I would like to do nothing. I got nothing. I'll be completely honest with you. All right, I did some stuff with my kid today, and she was kind of exhausted. Not her, but just the totality of my day. But I will give you my patented rambles. All right. Hey, the story about the. All right. The story with the house on its side, that was pretty bonkers. All right. Okay, now imagine this. Okay, you're in you're in your room. Then your point of view turns lateral, vertical, and your bed is now vertical. Your ceiling is now on the ground. You're being pulled out of your window. Your shoulder, your legs are hurting because you're being pulled against between your bed frame and a wall. You're being pulled out of your window, and then to your horror, you wake back up and dirt's all over your bed, all over your flowers are trampled outside your wall, right outside your window. That is, to me, the stuff of nightmares. Okay, because you can't begin to explain that. You can't begin to understand that. That is what happened to you. How do you quietly just forget about that? That's the kind of stuff that will haunt you forever and ever and ever. All right. And so to those people who like to mock people that have been in these situations or dismiss them, listen, I really hope that it does not happen to you. All right. Because on that day, you will know how alone you are in this world, in this universe, when nobody will even consider that as a possibility due to their small minds and small worldviews and their small, tiny little bit of curiosity and their enormous ego, which will not allow them to even consider such possibilities. And to those people, I say, Boo to you, sir and ma'am. Boo. I wish I had more thumbs so I can give you more hands down. Alright? You know what I mean? On the other hand, I am, due to my experience, which one day I'll tell you guys. I will. Alright? I believe in these type of things, okay? Alright? Just think of the vast emptiness that's out there, alright? And then think about the possibilities within them. And think about this. What would you do if you were being pulled out of your window and your screams were of no avail? Silence filled your lungs and mouth as you opened it, and terror resided where once courage was. You have been listening to Alien Reddit Stories, and if you made it this far, go ahead and subscribe. Do it. It costs you nothing, it will. It costs you nothing. And I'll see you next time in Alien Reddit Stories. Love you. Do it! It will liberate you.